I never care about any financial impact to anything I do. I think you've got to be intellectually honest in this game. I think you are when I watch you.
And I appreciate that. You know what I would say? When I think about like our jobs, what we do, versus think about the nonprofit job.
Yeah.
The nonprofit job, guys are giving you a few $1 million. They're not going to get anything in return because they support the cause. So imagine if all of a sudden you're like, well, like Heritage, we are, no matter what they tell us, we're going to protect and be for Tucker forever. And then the next day, listen, we were a little bit inappropriate with our comments and we have changed our position because the donors threatened to walk out. So that charity, the nonprofit sector is a slippery slope because you worry about losing that $4 million fund, the $2 million fund, the $3 million guy that's going to take the money away.
I had this kind of debate about the platforming with people like Andrew Tate and stuff and Candace Owens when I platformed. And I kind of evolved my view a little bit to the degree that I think that these people have huge followings. You can either pretend they don't or you can accept they do.
Yeah.
And they either have an unchallenged platform of their own to just say whatever they want to say. Take with Candace, for example, I've had a couple of big bust-ups with her about this ridiculous assertion that Brigitte Macron is a man, right? I think it's 100% bullshit. I think she knows it is, but she's now being sued by Brigitte Macron, who will probably prove very easily she's a woman in court, and Candace will lose, but I'm sure spin it into some kind of Pyrrhic victory, and that's her business. But if I have her on, I challenge her about it. We have a proper old ding-dong about it. And actually, I do think that probably society and democracy is better served by having people who have big followings, give them a platform, but challenge them. That should be the challenge for everybody. I do that with anyone, but I just think having people who've got very contentious views on where you don't challenge them, that's an abrogation of your duty as a platformer, because otherwise what are you really doing? You're just giving them more oxygen for views. And if you don't agree with them, I thought it was very interesting when Tucker went after Tate Cruz and said, well, what's the population of Iran? He didn't know. It was a viral moment, and we all thought that was a brilliant moment. But you do think, well, why was there no viral moment like that out of your 2-hour interview with Fuentes? I can guarantee there would be if I was with Fuentes. He'd probably give me some hammer too. Fine, fair enough. I can take it. But I do think he needs to be challenged. Fuentes has a massive following, increasingly influential amongst young men in particular, as does Andrew Tate. I've interviewed Tate a few times, and I think I hold his feet to the fire, and he gives it back. And actually, young people who watch it, who maybe have a view of him that is unchallengeable from his own arena, see him being challenged, it can maybe change their views.
Who did you interview in UK when you walked on the streets, you went to restaurants, people said, I cannot believe you put him on platform? Who was the number one person that you got criticism in the streets?
Probably Andrew Tate.
Above everybody.
I think so, yeah. He's the most divisive figure that I interview on a more regular basis, yeah. And it's a tricky one, I'd sort of buy into Tucker's thing that you should, if you had got a platform, you should be able to interview whoever you like. I mean, when he did Putin, for example, he got a lot of stick for doing it, but would any journalist turn down the chance of interviewing Vladimir Putin? And if you're honest, would you go to Moscow and then start haranguing him to his face? Probably not. So, I would probably say I'll interview Mr. I can't even go there because I'm on his sanctions list. But if I said, look, next time you're in Washington or London, I'll do an interview with you. I'd probably feel more comfortable because then you can ask him tougher questions.
This is who, Tate?
No, Putin.
Oh, Putin.
Yeah.
So have you reached out to want to sit down with?
Yeah, we've had no from him.
Yeah, he's getting no from him. Yeah.
I did Zelensky in Kyiv. That was a good interview.
Yeah, he would be interesting. But by the way, where are you at with, the Epstein story? And the reason why the Epstein story is interesting with you is Prince Andrew,
he's not
UK,
Prince.
family.
He's not a prince.
No, he's not a prince anymore. They changed it. We have to even say the name correctly, which... what do we call him the other day, Rob? It was like a full-on name. That
Andrew Mountbatten?
Yeah, Andrew Mountbatten, yeah. So, with all this stuff over the years, what's your position with who Epstein was?
I think he was a predatory pedophile. I think that he operated with other people who knew that these girls were underage and were happy to abuse them. I've interviewed David Boies, who was Virginia Giuffre's lawyer and represented many of the other victims. He's seen the files. He thinks there are 6 to a dozen high-profile men named in them who should potentially face criminal prosecution, which begs the question, why do we not know who those people are? Why are they not being prosecuted? In Andrew's case, I had a view about this early on, which was you could legitimately say, if you knew Epstein before his conviction for pedophilia, you could legitimately, I think, with your head held high, say, or with credibility, say, I didn't know anything about that. But the moment I found out about it, I never saw him again. Okay? There are people that did that. Donald Trump, I think, is one of the people who had nothing more to do with him after his conviction for being a pedophile with a 14-year-old girl. Anyone who didn't do that is willingly continuing to consort with a convicted pedophile. Very different credibility stakes. Andrew's problem, and his wife, Sarah Ferguson, ex-wife, had the same problem, was they made public declarations that we never saw him again after a certain time. And then the US Congress has been going through all the files and releasing emails in drops which have contradicted those claims. It's now clear that Andrew and his ex-wife continued to have contact with Epstein way after they publicly said, I disowned him. And so they were caught lying, which is why it's now spiraled in the last few weeks to where Andrew has now been effectively deroyaled by his brother, the king, because the king had no option. And also, if we already know he's lying, what more is coming down the pipe from these Congress leaks? I mean, who knows, right? So it could get worse for Andrew before it gets any better. He might well end up in a courtroom. The FBI are desperate to interview him under oath. I don't think he has any chance of ever making any return to any form of public life if he doesn't go under oath to the authorities and say everything he knows. I think he's been lying. I think he obviously knew Virginia Giuffre. I think he obviously did have sex with her. I think that he has been very disingenuous about all that. And I think he's now been shamed and disgraced and everything else. But he hasn't been brought to any criminal account. And many people will feel that he should be.
How embarrassing do you think this is for the family? Do you think this is
hugely.
something where the family is sitting there saying, because this is a different challenge than Harry and Meghan Markle,
Yeah.
right?
There's no comparison.
Right.
Harry and Meghan are annoying little grifters who now use their royal status to trash the royal family, trash the monarchy, and make millions of dollars. I don't like what they do. I think it's horrible. Particularly
How miserable you think Harry is right now?
Oh, he looks completely.
Do you think he really is happy in love,
No.
being in a...
He looks like a doped out misery guts to me. And I just think it's the full reality. I mean, look, who could be happy when you're estranged from all your family? And she's estranged from hers, by the way, too, apart from her mother. Her father lives 50 miles away, has never met her husband or her two kids. He's the guy that brought her up on his own for 8 years, remember? It's a very weird story, the whole thing. But I think, look, the level of what they've done, Andrew's on a different class, higher, of shame he's brought on the family. There's a big difference between being grifters, making money out of trashing a family, and actually being actively involved in one of the worst pedophile scandals of modern times with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. And I think that we don't know the full story yet about Andrew, but we may well find out through the criminal process that's ongoing.
What do you think is more likely? Andrew being innocent, going back in the family, becoming a prince again, or Harry leaving Meghan, going back, apologizing, and being received again?
Well, Andrew will never be a prince again. That ship has definitely sailed. I don't think he'll ever go to America and be interviewed, so he'll never clear his name either. I think he'll live a life of shame as a pariah. I think it's more, I mean, look, who knows about Harry and Meghan? I think they kind of deserve each other. They're kind of joined at the hip now in their situation, but almost everything they do is so cack-handed. Like the other day, they went to the baseball. She posts some cringe video of her dancing up.
Rob, do you have this?
Yeah, I mean,
can you play this? This has got to be the worst fake celebration thing I've seen in my life. And you met her before, right? You and Meghan had
I actually met her once, but I followed 4 of them on Suits. I used to love watching Suits, and I followed 4 of the characters. And she immediately direct messaged me, which was quite telling looking back on it, saying...
She DM'd you?
Yeah, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan, blah, all this kind of stuff, within about 5 minutes, right? So her and another guy called Rick Hoffman, who played Lewis Litt, who was her big friend on the show. The 3 of us then used to exchange messages, all just quite fun. They'd send me clips from future episodes and so on. And then she said, I'm coming to London. Can we meet up for a drink? I went, sure. Took her to my local pub. Actually got on very well. I thought she was very nice. And it was very great. Really enjoyed it. Sent the pictures to Rick back in wherever he was. All very nice with her. And then bang, suddenly never heard from her again. Never heard from him either, Rick Hoffman, who neither of them were known in the UK. I was like, who are you two little? What's happened, right? And then, of course, I see the story about Harry, and I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But Hoffman, you You disowned me as a friend of the person now. Yeah. Well, no, he actually was quite funny. He sent me a grovelling message. I've still got it. Grovelling message the day after the wedding, which he attended, saying, Piers, I'm so sorry. I hope you understand. It's all been so difficult. I was like, I'll do fuck off. So, but anyway, look, it turned out she had a pattern of basically disowning every single person from her life, including her father, who might somehow be a problem, because obviously Harry hates the papers. I used to run a tabloid paper. I got that. But she just wanted to cut loose anybody. We saw it with friends and family and ex-husbands and so on. Anyone that might be a problem for her world plan, which was getting her claws into a British royal prince, yanking him back to California and making hundreds of millions. And we've seen how the rest has played out.
Was the conversation was it flirty with the two of you, or no?
No,
was it just like a meeting, nothing crazy?
No.
Okay,
No. People that try to paint it as that, it's so funny. I mean, just look at pictures of my wife.
No, I get that. I'm just saying because this is them, Rob, at the baseball field celebrating the Dodgers.
Yeah, I believe this their home theater.
Oh my! Press it.
Oh my God! I can't. It's like geese. Like geese being attacked. Oh my God! Absolutely.
Okay, about how many times do you think they did that? That's take 3 or take 8?
One of them. Also,
what do you think that is?
Also, he's now given an apology for wearing a Dodgers cap. You see him there in the Dodgers cap. So why is he sitting there miserable and her gloating, given that the week before he'd been at one of the World Series games in a Dodgers cap in the Dodger owner's dugout? None of it makes any sense. Now, suddenly a week later, he's sitting there miserable because the Dodgers have won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, she to me is one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Cringe, annoying, narcissist. Yeah. She has to be the combination of those 3. Yeah. I don't know anybody more annoying than her. But, and what's challenging is she's attractive. But you look at that personality, you wonder, if you go on a date, if you married her, what would happen? Don't do that again. Put your hand over here. Hold me. Why don't you hold me tighter? Come closer. I don't like your mother. There's something about your dad. There's something about your sister. There's something about you. I need you to stop talking to that person. I don't think it's inappropriate. You make me feel this. Awful. You make me feel small. Awful. Oh, I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you, sweetheart. This is going to be an incredible romantic journey we're going to go on. By the way, crazy question.